Welcome to Reds Focus LFC fans. Today,
big Liverpool news today. A major twist in the Marc Guehi transfer saga. Harvey Elliott's future in doubt, and a shocking Arne Slot sack warning you need to hear. Subscribe now for the latest Liverpool transfer news, breaking updates, and daily LFC content. Liverpool transfer news. Marc Guehi saga takes twist as target close to new contract. Today's Liverpool FC transfer roundup sees updates on long-term targets and silly season getting truly underway. On the 6th day of the transfer window, Richard Hughes gave to me Lionel Messi on a short-term loan to Liverpool. Silly season is well and truly upon us, and one rumor has especially caught the eye. A shock report sees probably the greatest player of all time linked with what would be an astonishing move to Anfield. Could we really see Messi in a red shirt? Back in the real world, Liverpool have struggled defensively this season and continue to be linked to a number of center-backs, though speculation still rages over Marc Guehi, whose contract at Crystal Palace expires at the end of the campaign. And here we round up the latest gossip and rumors on the Reds' potential transfer dealings. Crystal Palace claim open to selling Marc Guehi. Give Me Sport have claimed an exclusive scoop on the future of Marc Guehi. The England international has long been touted with a move to Anfield, coming this close to a deadline day switch in the summer before Crystal Palace pulled the plug at the 11th hour. GMS now believe Palace have not completely discounted a sale in January, with Guehi entering the final 6 months of his contract, but it would take an extraordinary offer for Palace to sanction a sale this month. This is no great surprise. Every player has a price tag, especially one with such a little amount of time to run on his current deal. But it has been widely reported by other outlets that the extraordinary offer Palace are after would need to exceed the £35 million agreed with Liverpool back in September. Yesterday, January 5th, BBC Sport revealed that Manchester City were exploring a move for Guehi following injuries to Josko Gvardiol and Ruben Dias. The report claimed City are ready to increase their interest in the center half, with the Echo's sister paper, the Manchester Evening News, having previously reported Guehi as being on the shortlist for next summer. The X account, @IndyKyla, which was accurate on several high-profile moves in the summer, including Alexander Isak's record-breaking transfer to Liverpool, has also reported Liam Rosenior is looking to make Guehi his first signing as Chelsea manager. Former Man City financial advisor Stefan Borson via Football Insider has warned the saga is likely to run the distance. Borson said, "I wouldn't be surprised if they found somebody in that kind of £50–60 million level, or if they did the Marc Guehi signing, if they could get that over the line for, let's say, £35 million. Somebody's going to have to put Crystal Palace on the spot and say to Crystal Palace, look, you've got zero coming in the summer if you hold him. What do you want to do? Keep a player for, let's say, 30 matches total, including Europe, for £35 million? Or do you want to sell him at the end of January? I think it's going to be one of those watch this space on deadline day. Does somebody want to pay £35 million for Guehi? Obviously, the most likely team to do that is Liverpool. Antoine Semenyo, Man City Medical. Bad news for Liverpool fans came ahead of the transfer window in the form of Antoine Semenyo's likely mid-season switch to rivals Manchester City. The Ghanaian forward, who was linked heavily with a move to Anfield, looks to set complete a £65 million transfer to Pep Guardiola's side in a blow to the Reds. Speaking ahead of Bournemouth's home game against Tottenham Hotspur, manager Andoni Iraola confirmed Semenyo will play, but admitted the writing may be on the wall. Iraola said, "Antoine will play tomorrow. I can give you my opinion from my experience. There is nothing signed with Antoine Semenyo. If you ask me personally what do I think, with all the knowledge, it could be his last game. But I cannot guarantee it. I understand the market, I understand the noise, but right now there is nothing agreed, there is nothing signed. For me, he is our player, and I hope he continues. My understanding, because I've been in other markets before, not just this club, in others, there's a chance this is his last game." Sky Sports later confirmed a medical is booked for Semenyo with Manchester City on Thursday. Dayot Upamecano very close to new Bayern Munich deal. One defender Liverpool won't be making a move for, barring a sudden turn of events, appears to be Bayern Munich's Dayot Upamecano. Bayern news site FCB Inside spoke to sporting director Christoph Freund, who was confident of a deal being agreed. Upamecano had previously been slated as a potential Liverpool target in the summer to replace Ibrahima Konate should he decide to run down his contract and leave on a free. Freund said of Konate's France international, "He's 27, next year he'll be 28, that's the best age for soccer. Accordingly, this will be a very important contract for him for the next 3 or 4 years. I've known him for a very, very long time. I brought him to Salzburg when he was 16. There's no final decision yet, but we're already very, very close." Bavarian outlet TZ previously reported in December that Upamecano's agent had offered his client to Liverpool. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, this appears to be a classic ploy to force Bayern's hand in negotiations. Federico Chiesa going nowhere. One of the biggest Liverpool-related transfer stories from yesterday came from Italian transfer guru Fabrizio Romano, who reported that Juventus had made formal contact for Federico Chiesa. The out-of-favor Liverpool forward could be open to a move in search of more game time, and a surprise return to his former club appeared to be on the cards. However, the Echo understands no contact has been received by Liverpool for Chiesa. This was later corroborated by The Athletic's James Pearce. Pearce said, Liverpool had no contact, either formal or informal, from Juventus regarding Federico Chiesa. The Italian forward, regarded as an important member of the squad, has featured in last 5 matches. It seems unlikely the Reds would allow the Italian to leave at this stage of the season without bringing in a replacement who is ready to feature more heavily, as Slot has relied on Chiesa to rotate his first-choice forward options through an injury crisis and Mohamed Salah's absence at AF Khan.
Oliver Glasner makes honest Marc Guehi transfer admission amid Man City interest. Crystal Palace captain Marc Guehi is out of contract at the end of the season and is available for a massive offer in January amid interest from Liverpool, Manchester City and others. Marc Guehi will be sold to Manchester City in January if the price is right and the England star wants to go, Oliver Glasner has admitted. "I'm not so naive not to know that if a massive offer comes from City and Marc wants to do it, it will happen," said the Crystal Palace manager. Pep Guardiola is seeking defensive reinforcements after injuries to Josko Gvardiol and Ruben Diaz, and Guehi is out of contract this summer. Newcastle offered up to £65 million for the Three Lions defender in August 2024, while Liverpool agreed a £35 million price last summer before the deal collapsed. But the FA Cup holders are now looking for £40 million because the January window is more expensive to find replacements, and Guehi could help them to win the Conference League and qualify for Europe again this season. "Honestly, I don't know what will happen," Glasner said. "If you're just valuing sports, everyone in the club will say Marc has to stay. The chairman will tell you the same, but it's not one-dimensional. Nothing in life is one-dimensional, so if you see the financial situation, it's very important. Everybody wants him to play for Crystal Palace, sign a new contract and stay here forever. That's what everybody will tell you. On the other side, there's the situation that the contract ends in summer, and if somebody is coming, there will be a moment when the club says, now the financial issue is more important than the sport issue. I'm not so naive not to know that if a massive offer comes from City and Marc wants to do it, it will happen." Asked the price of Guehi, Glasner added, "You have to ask the chairman, Steve Parish. He rejected many offers in the last few years. He thought in the summer, we want to play a successful season, we want to win the Community Shield, therefore Marc is important, and then he rejected the offer. The threshold at that time, the money we got offered, was not above it. Maybe it was close, but it was not above. And again, if somebody had arrived and said, we pay you £80 million for Marc, and Marc says, I want to go, Marc wouldn't be a Crystal Palace player. If the player says, I want to leave, and the money is above the threshold, it will happen." During his 51-minute press conference before Wednesday's visit of Aston Villa, Glasner gave an analogy comparing selling a beloved car to fix a draughty house to the Guehi situation. When you have a nice car, you love the car because it's your 15 years and whatever, you met your wife there or whatever, but you need some money because it's cold and the glass is broken in your house and you don't have money and somebody offers you crazy money for your car. You say, "No, I don't want to sell my car. I love my car. It's the memories of my wife. But I don't want to freeze. How much do you pay?" And if you say, "Okay, because then I can get the window and even a new roof, you can have the car, but I would like to have it." And it's the same with Marc.
Harvey Elliott's best transfer hope clear as Liverpool misses out on $47 million. Harvey Elliott has made only 5 appearances for Aston Villa since his summer loan move from Liverpool, with the midfielder's $35 million, $47.2 million permanent transfer now unlikely after Villa decided against triggering an obligation to buy. Harvey Elliott's ill-fated loan to Aston Villa has resulted in a mere 5 appearances, exclusion from the squad, and his World Cup dreams virtually extinguished. So what's next for the midfielder? A summer deadline day transfer to Villa appeared to be an ideal scenario for Elliott. The Birmingham-based team, a rising force in the Premier League with European ambitions, seemed poised to offer the English midfielder what he yearned for: consistent playing time and a seemingly guaranteed $35 million, $47.2 million permanent move to a top 6 club on the horizon. In total, Elliott managed only 822 minutes across all competitions during the 2024-25 season for Liverpool. His 2025-26 campaign for Villa, however, is shaping up to be even more disappointing from a personal standpoint. When Elliott joined Villa on an initial loan with an obligation to purchase should the midfielder reach 10 appearances, widely regarded as a mere formality, Liverpool bosses shrewdly inserted sell-on and buyback clauses into the agreement, reflecting their faith in a player long viewed as one of England's brightest prospects. However, Elliott has failed to earn Unai Emery's confidence, remaining stuck on just 5 outings across all competitions since mid-October. Only 2 of those were starts. His debut came in the 1-1 stalemate with Brentford during the 3rd round of the EFL Cup, where Villa were eliminated on penalties, though Elliott did find the net with the match's solitary goal. The second start, a 3-1 home victory over Fulham, saw Elliott hauled off at the interval, with Emery later addressing the player's adjustment period following the contest. Clearly, Elliott's ability was never in doubt when Villa brought him in. Nevertheless, Villa has enjoyed a remarkable streak this season, with Emi Buendia getting the nod ahead of him. The Midlands outfit secured 11 consecutive victories between their losses to Liverpool and Arsenal and remains within touching distance of a title bid should Arsenal falter before the campaign concludes. His omission from even the substitutes bench points to a deeper issue, however, one which Emery alluded to in his recent remarks about Elliott during his press conference prior to Villa's victory over Nottingham Forest. Emery said, "The problem we have with Harvey is that this year he is on loan, and in case he plays matches, we must buy him. We decided 2 months ago that we are not convinced to sign him, spending the money we would need to sign him. This is the only issue. He is training every day, always every day, with very good behavior and to help us in training sessions. This is not something good for him and good for us, but this is football, and sometimes we must take some decisions which are not good for everyone." Will Harvey Elliott move to the MLS? Villa has sailed close to the wind regarding profit and sustainability rules in recent years, parting ways with its most promising academy product in Jacob Ramsey during the summer. In this scenario, it might be wiser for Villa to retain Elliott until June. Villa has likely forked out a loan fee to secure his services for the season, along with a commitment to purchase, and it's known that there's no recall clause in the agreement. Any attempt to send Elliott back to Liverpool could potentially incur an extra charge. With Villa performing well, there won't be much concern in Birmingham over Elliott's predicament. However, the player has probably missed his chance to catch Thomas Tuchel's eye ahead of the World Cup, and with Slot seemingly unconvinced as well, he would likely see little action even if he were to return to Anfield. Since Elliott played for Liverpool before finalizing his loan deal, he can't be loaned out to another club this season unless that club's fixtures don't coincide with the European calendar. This sparked interest from former Villa manager Dean Smith's Charlotte FC in MLS, but Elliott is anticipated to turn down any offer from the United States. Not only would playing in MLS be a significant downgrade for the Premier League winner, but with Charlotte FC not scheduled to play a competitive match until 21 February, Elliott would be looking at 4 months without any game time. On Monday, The Athletic's James Pearce reported that there had been no communication from Villa regarding renegotiating the terms of the loan, indicating that keeping him for training until the season's end is the most probable scenario. At this stage, it appears any alteration in Elliott's situation would need to originate from Liverpool. On the surface, Slot's team could certainly use a player like Elliott, who could provide an additional option in an attack hampered by injuries in FAO Con of AFCON. Elliott's availability could also ease the burden on Florian Wirtz, who is grappling with a hamstring issue. However, the Liverpool manager has been reluctant to field players he doesn't seem to fully trust, as Federico Chiesa and Rio Nagumoho can confirm. Surely, a player with Elliott's determination and professionalism, coupled with his undeniable technical skills, could only bolster Liverpool. Elliott, a lifelong Liverpool supporter who achieved what most fans can only dream of, was visibly emotional at last year's trophy lift, highlighting the tough decision he made last summer. While Elliott will undoubtedly aspire for more, a sentimental return to assist Liverpool, even if he still struggles to secure a starting spot, must be the best outcome for all involved.
Arne Slot gets Liverpool sack warning from Ruben Amorim. On Monday, Manchester United parted ways with Ruben Amorim only 14 months after his appointment. He won 24 of his 63 games in charge, leaving United in no better shape than they were when he got there. The Portuguese will leave with around £10 million in his pocket, too, with the club paying off the remainder of his contract until 2027. The weeks before his departure were increasingly fractious, with question marks reportedly being raised internally about Amorim's preferred style of play. Head of recruitment Christopher Vivell and Director of Football Jason Wilcox had their concerns over their head coach's 3-4-3, with a procession of opponents openly admitting how easy it was to work out. There were also eyebrows raised over his frequent criticisms of senior players to the media, as well as his playing down of players from the club's academy. And the head coach, for his part, was seemingly unhappy with the club's proposed lack of January transfer business. Amorim sacked as Man United head coach. Man United drew 1-1 with Leeds at Elland Road on Sunday, with Amorim addressing the media afterwards. The 40-year-old went out all guns blazing, arguably setting in motion the process that culminated in his sacking on January 5th. He made reference to the difference between being a team's manager and a coach, something that chimes with what is currently happening at Liverpool. "I just want to say I came here to be the manager, not to be the coach," he told the press. "In every department, the scouting department, the sporting director, they need to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then we move on. I just want to say that I'm going to be the manager of this team, not just the coach. I was really clear on that. That is going to finish in 18 months and then everyone is going to move on. That was the deal. That is my job, not to be a coach." But Amorim was appointed head coach, and in signing his contract, he knew what that entailed. Hughes and Slot in civil war over Ngumoha. A head coach is there to do his job within a framework. By no means is the head coach the boss. With Amorim's declared ambition of being the #1 man in charge and his criticism of other departments, he had to go. And that brings us to Arne Slot. Like Amorim, the Dutchman was hired to be head coach. He did a great job last season, guiding his players to the 2024-25 Premier League title. But there has definitely been a change in recent months, and results-wise, Liverpool are nowhere near where they should be. There has been a dispute between Slot and sporting director Richard Hughes over his usage of young players, and in Ngumoha in particular. Hughes wouldn't sign Slot a replacement for Luis Diaz when he was sold to Bayern Munich. Instead, he told Slot to promote and use Ngumoha. The head coach hasn't done so nearly as often as he could have, leaving a heavy load for other forwards like Hugo Ekitike, who is now injured. The age of the manager is over.
And this gets to the very heart of the manager versus head coach issue. If Hughes tells Slot to use Ngumoha, then he has to use Ngumoha. The decision effectively is no longer Slot's to make. Liverpool want to blood young talents either for the first team or for sale, and it is the head coach's job to facilitate that. If he doesn't carry out the instructions from the top, then he's going to create problems for himself. The days of the old-fashioned manager are over in a lot of top clubs, not only in England but around Europe too. And Slot knew this when he walked into Anfield. The recent fallout for Amorim and Man United has exposed the truth about the head coach role. You are there to do your job, and you better do it, for better or for worse. There is no doubt that this issue may well raise its head again before the end of the season, if Slot survives that long. But this week, he will have learned what happens to head coaches who try to be the manager.
Liverpool midfielder returns to the club after failed loan move. Liverpool midfielder James Balagzi is back on Merseyside after his season-long loan at Forest Green Rovers was formally terminated. The 22-year-old joined the National League side in August 2025, linking up with manager Robbie Savage, but a hamstring injury curtailed his campaign after 10 senior appearances. Forest Green confirmed the decision on Tuesday afternoon, issuing a statement across their official website and social platforms. On X, the club said, "We can confirm James Balagzi has returned to Liverpool." The 22-year-old made 10 appearances for Rovers, scoring a last-minute equalizer against Scunthorpe United earlier in the season. "We would all like to thank James for his contributions this season, and we wish him the very best for the rest of his career." Balagzi's most recent outing for Forest Green came on 31 October 2025 in an FA Cup defeat to Luton, a 2-1 loss that marked his final competitive minutes before injury struck. In the weeks that followed, he continued his rehabilitation at Liverpool's training base, working under the club's medical team to accelerate his recovery. Forest Green Rovers spell. What went wrong? The midfielder arrived in Gloucestershire with optimism and pedigree, a product of Liverpool's academy who had impressed during his formative years. Quick off the mark, the Liverpool midfielder returns to the club after failed loan move. Liverpool midfielder James Balagzi is back on Merseyside after his season-long loan at Forest Green Rovers was formally terminated. The 22-year-old joined the National League side in August 2025, linking up with manager Robbie Savage, but a hamstring injury curtailed his campaign after 10 senior appearances. Forest Green confirmed the decision on Tuesday afternoon, issuing a statement across their official website and social platforms. On X, the club said, "We can confirm James Balagzi has returned to Liverpool." The 22-year-old made 10 appearances for Rovers, scoring a last-minute equalizer against Scunthorpe United earlier in the season. "We would all like to thank James for his contributions this season, and we wish him the very best for the rest of his career." Balagzi's most recent outing for Forest Green came on 31 October 2025 in an FA Cup defeat to Luton, a 2-1 loss that marked his final competitive minutes before injury struck. In the weeks that followed, he continued his rehabilitation at Liverpool's training base, working under the club's medical team to accelerate his recovery. Forest Green Rovers spell. What went wrong? The midfielder arrived in Gloucestershire with optimism and pedigree, a product of Liverpool's academy who had impressed during his formative years. Quick off the mark, dynamic in possession, incapable of late drama, he showed flashes of the talent that once prompted Crawley manager Kevin Betsy to forecast a fantastic career after Balagzi's 2022 loan stint. Yet, the Forest Green move became another chapter disrupted, his hamstring injury impeding momentum and limiting his impact under Savage's system. 10 appearances might not read like a headline haul, but that late equalizer against Scunthorpe United underscored his knack for pivotal moments, even in a compact cameo sample. Contract situation in Liverpool future. Balagzi's recall marks the third time he has returned to Liverpool in January after intended season-long loans were shortened.
With his contract at Anfield set to expire in June 2026 and no competitive senior appearances for the Reds, the clock is ticking on his chances of carving out a long-term future at the club. Liverpool manager Arne Slot has overseen a squad overhaul geared toward control, intensity, and tactical clarity. Slot's midfield blueprint demands relentless availability and rhythm, a challenging stage for a player seeking fitness, form, and continuity after recurring loan setbacks. Balagzi was twice named on Liverpool's bench during domestic cup ties in 21-22, but never stepped onto the pitch for a competitive senior minute. Now 22, the need for a stable run of football has arguably never felt more pressing.